There is something haunting about an unused chair, a silent object resting in the corner of a room, holding the shape of someone who never returned, or someone who was never meant to sit there in the first place. Empty chairs carry stories of pauses that lasted too long, of conversations that never happened, of memories that grew heavy and settled into wood and fabric. Sometimes, an unused chair becomes the quietest mirror of a person's inner world, waiting, observing, holding what the heart cannot say. Every unused chair begins as an invitation, until that invitation turns into silence. People notice it before they understand it, the way an empty place holds too much meaning. An unused chair quietly reshapes the atmosphere of a room. It becomes more than furniture. It becomes a presence, a placeholder, a witness. Some chairs are avoided because someone left suddenly, and sitting there feels like stepping into their ghost. Others remain untouched because they were bought for moments that never arrived. The guest who drifted away, the relationship that faded before the space could be shared, the version of life someone thought they would grow into. People don't talk about how physical objects absorb emotional weight, how a chair can reflect the ache of something missing, how emptiness isn't always absence. It's often a memory paused in midair. The unused chair becomes a focal point, a quiet discomfort, a reminder of a relationship never mended, a conversation avoided, a plan postponed until the heart slowly forgot how to return to it. In homes where silence lingers, that chair becomes a metaphor for the person themselves. A life on hold, a seat at the table they never take, a comfort they don't believe they deserve. And before they know it, the chair stops being furniture. It becomes a story they're afraid to face, because some empty spaces feel safer untouched. Behind every unused chair lies an origin, an emotional blueprint shaped long before the chair ever arrived. People inherit ways of leaving spaces untouched. For some, the unused chair began in childhood, a home where certain seats symbolized authority, tension, or fragile peace. Maybe a parent had a chair nobody sat in because it held their moods, their temper, their exhaustion. Children learned early that some spaces are dangerous, unpredictable, or simply not theirs. For others, the unused chair began with longing. Homes where someone always waited for a presence that rarely came. A father who worked late, a sibling who drifted away, a friend who promised to return but didn't. Over time, waiting becomes a habit, and the chair becomes a quiet ritual of hope, even when the heart stops believing. Sometimes the origin is loss, a chair where someone used to sit, and now nobody can. The shape of the person is gone, but the space they once warmed feels too sacred, too fragile to disturb. People leave it untouched, not because they want to remember, but because they're afraid they'll forget. And then there are the origins that come from self-abandonment. Chairs kept empty because the person never learned how to take up space, emotionally or physically. They hover at the edge of their own life, offering the seat to everyone else, never claiming comfort for themselves. The unused chair is never just wood or fabric. It is history, expectation, fear, reverence, longing, a map of emotional inheritance, carried quietly into adulthood, where the chair becomes a symbol of all the places someone learned not to sit. An unused chair is rarely about furniture. It's about the mind's way of avoiding something that feels too heavy to touch. Humans avoid physical spaces the same way they avoid emotional ones. What they fear, they orbit. what they long for. They protect from disappointment by never approaching it. Psychologically, an unused chair often symbolizes ambivalence, a push and pull between desire and discomfort. People want connection, but fear vulnerability. They want rest, but fear stillness. They want presence, but fear the pain of acknowledging who and what is missing. Sometimes the chair is a symbol of deferred living, the future self they imagine sitting there someday, more confident, more healed, more deserving. Until then, the chair waits for a version of them they haven't met yet. Other times, the chair is tied to emotional clutter, the mind placing meaning where it doesn't belong. A chair becomes a shrine to unfinished conversations, a placeholder for someone who left, a stand-in for a life paused mid-sentence. Avoidance offers a strange comfort. By not sitting, not touching, not disturbing, people feel they are keeping something intact, even if the thing they are protecting is only a memory of what could have been. In psychology, this is known as symbolic displacement. The mind places emotions onto objects because objects don't argue, don't reject, don't walk away. And so the unused chair becomes a small, safe container for complicated feelings, a space where longing can rest without being confronted. The unused chair becomes a battlefield between the desire to fill the empty space and the fear of what's sitting there might awaken. People don't talk about the small internal flinch that happens when they pass by that chair. A tug in the chest, a second of hesitation, a questioning that never fully forms into words. Part of them wants to reach out, to drag the chair closer, to place a book on it, to let it be part of the living world again. But another part resists, because sitting in it might mean acknowledging the absence it represents, or the version of themselves they abandoned, or the conversation they never had. The mind holds onto the chair like a boundary. Not yet, not today, maybe when I'm ready. But readiness rarely comes. Instead, the unused chair becomes proof that something inside remains unsettled, a symbol of unprocessed grief, unspoken tension, or dreams left untouched out of fear they might not fit anymore. The conflict deepens when people realize the chair reflects their own emotional posture, how often they stay on the sidelines, how often they watch life instead of entering it, how often they leave their own potential unused, just like that chair. Resistance whispers through the room. If I sit, something will change. And change, even when gentle, feels like stepping into unfamiliar light. So the chair stays empty, not because it lacks purpose, but because the person does not yet feel ready to occupy the space they deserve. There comes a moment when the unused chair stops being background and becomes a question the heart can no longer ignore. Often, this moment is quiet, not dramatic, not cinematic, just a pause, a deeper breath, a sudden noticing, a strange sense that the room has been waiting. Maybe it happens on an ordinary morning, in the soft hush before the world wakes. Maybe it happens during a moment of loneliness so sharp that the silence feels like a weight. Or maybe it happens when someone sees the chair from a new angle and wonders why they've left a piece of their life untouched. The realization forms slowly. This isn't about the chair. This is about me. This is about something I've been avoiding. And in that moment, the unused chair becomes a mirror, reflecting the parts of them that have been waiting for acknowledgement. The grief they never named, the dream they quietly abandoned, the relationship they never healed, the version of themselves they stopped believing in. For some, the shift comes with compassion. For others, with sorrow. For many, with a surprising tenderness, as if the chair had been patiently guarding a part of their heart until they were ready to claim it again. And that's the turning point. Not sitting, not moving, not changing the chair, but seeing it, really seeing it, and understanding the emotional architecture behind its emptiness. Awareness is the first quiet step toward re-entering the spaces life has been holding open. Healing begins the moment a person allows the empty space to be part of life again, gently, slowly, without pressure. Integration is not about dramatically sitting in the chair. It's about softening the emotional boundary around it, about letting the chair become what it always was, a place for rest, presence, conversation, life. Maybe they place a small plant beside it. Maybe they dust it, not out of duty, but out of care. Maybe they move it to a new corner, giving it a different purpose. Or maybe, someday, without thinking too hard, they finally sit, not to conquer a fear, not to prove anything, just because the moment feels natural. Healing doesn't erase the story of the unused chair. It weaves it into the living fabric of the room. The absence becomes memory. The weight becomes insight. The hesitation becomes understanding. The chair is no longer a container for emotions too heavy to hold. It becomes part of daily life. A place to set down a bag. A seat offered to a friend. A corner to read in. A spot to simply breathe. Integration is quiet, gentle, grounded. An acknowledgement that emotional spaces don't stay empty forever. They wait. They open. They soften with time. And the person realizes something subtle but profound. The chair was never waiting for someone else. It was waiting for them. The unused chair becomes a symbol of a universal truth. Every empty space in life holds a story, one that gently asks to be understood, not filled. In the end, the chair remains what it always was, a silent witness to the human heart. Its emptiness was never a flaw, just a reminder of pauses, transitions, losses, hopes, and the soft unfolding of emotional life. People learn that emptiness is not always loneliness. Sometimes it is the room the soul needs to breathe. Sometimes it is the echo of love that once lived there. Sometimes it is the quiet invitation to return to oneself. And when someone finally steps toward that chair, with tenderness, with presence, with a calmer heart, they realize the meaning was never in occupying the seat. The meaning was in understanding why it stayed empty for so long. Because every unused chair carries a story. And every story, once understood, becomes a doorway, not to the past, but to a gentler, more conscious way of living, where even the silent corners of a room feel like home again.